The Cleveland Browns have finally decided to make the right decision in regards to their quarterback position. Actually, though, it's happening sooner than I predicted, and with the wrong quarterback. For all 5 of you, not counting us, who watched our How Long Before Shedeur's the Starter video, I took note of the Browns' tough schedule to start the football season. Indeed, their first 6 games were against teams who had winning records last season. I told you that, with Joe Flacco serving as a punching bag against those tough teams, the Browns would probably be 0-6. At that point, I predicted that the Browns would have no choice but to turn to one of their young quarterbacks. Furthermore, I predicted that that quarterback would be Shedeur Sanders. This is how that turned out. Right idea, wrong quarterback, and 2 games too early. So far this season, Joe Flacco has been awful. Through 4 games, he's completed only 58% of his passes and only thrown 2 touchdown passes. He's also thrown 6 interceptions and has 8 total turnovers. Additionally, his QBR is the second worst in the NFL. Meanwhile, the Browns' offense is only averaging 14 points a game, which is the second worst in the NFL. You would think that the Browns would try to protect their young quarterback, whoever it was that they decided was going to be the new starter, by having him make his first start against an easier defense. This is why I predicted that Shedeur's first start would be in Week 7 against a middling Miami Dolphins defense. Apparently, though, Coach Kevin Stefanski has seen enough and isn't worried about waiting for the perfect moment to make a change. Enter Dillon Gabriel. Gabriel was a super senior in college, as he was there for 6 years. After playing 3 seasons at the University of Central Florida, he then spent 2 seasons at the University of Oklahoma. Finally, he played 1 more season at the University of Oregon, where he was a Heisman Trophy finalist. He excelled at each school and finished his career having thrown 155 touchdowns against only 32 interceptions. His 155 touchdown passes are tied for the most in FBS history. To add to that, he also rushed for another 33 touchdowns. Coming out of college, Gabriel was seen as undersized. At the NFL Combine, he measured at 5'11". Generally speaking, coaches like their quarterbacks to be at least 6'2". Now, of course, if you can play, it doesn't matter how tall you are. This is just one of the baselines that they like to be able to point to say this is what we're looking for. On top of that, Gabriel was seen as a scheme quarterback, meaning that he looked better than he really was because of the offense that he was in. Additionally, a lot of his targets in his final year of college were under 10 yards, with 25% of those being behind the line of scrimmage, meaning screen passes. Finally, he was seen as a quarterback who lacked arm strength and who would stare down his receivers. More to the point, Gabriel's overall projection as a professional would be that he could be a good backup quarterback with some potential to possibly become a starter. And not only was he a smallish quarterback, at 24 years of age, he'd be turning 25 before the NFL season was over. At that age, he was older than most quarterbacks were when entering the league. By way of comparison, Super Bowl champion quarterback Jalen Hurts just turned 27, and he's currently in his 6th NFL season. So as a result of the reasons listed above, Gabriel wasn't selected in the NFL draft until the 3rd round by the Cleveland Browns. The Browns draft pick a couple of rounds later could be seen as saying one of 2 different things. In the 5th round, the Browns picked another quarterback. This time it was Colorado's Shedeur Sanders. With this draft pick, the Browns could either be saying, we don't really believe in Dillon Gabriel, so we're going to bring in additional competition at quarterback that we really think has an opportunity to do something. Or they could just simply be saying, by picking Sanders, this is a guy that we didn't even expect to be here. Because remember, the Browns traded up in order to select Sanders in the 5th round. So the thinking could have been, he has talent, he's available, let's go get him. So it may have had absolutely nothing to do with Gabriel. Getting back to Sanders, of course at this point everybody knows that he's the son of legendary Hall of Famer and current Colorado head coach Dillon Sanders. At one point prior to the draft, Sanders was seen as the potential number 1 overall pick. At minimum, he was expected to be a first-round pick. Then, for various speculative reasons that we're not going to get into here, football fans everywhere watched in surprise as Sanders was passed over pick after pick. In fact, this happened 143 times before the Browns decided to choose him. Once the 2 rookie quarterbacks got to camp, they were on a daily watch as networks and outlets everywhere eagerly reported and compared every move each one of them made. Initially, the Browns had 4 quarterbacks in camp: Joe Flacco, who was the presumed starter, Kenny Pickett, who they had traded for, Dillon Gabriel, and Shedeur Sanders. Apparently, the rookies impressed the Browns because after a few weeks, the team traded Pickett to the Las Vegas Raiders. As Pickett was serving as the team's number 2 quarterback, after his departure, the question now became, who's the new number 2 quarterback? Turns out that Gabriel was tabbed as the new number 2, and now Sanders was number 3. We're going to take a time out from our story to ask you to like, subscribe, share, comment, hit that notification bell, and repeat when it comes to our videos. Now, back to our story. During the preseason, Sanders had the bigger standout game. He started against the Carolina Panthers and showed out, leading 3 scoring drives while throwing 2 touchdown passes. However, in his next game, Sanders went backwards. He was sacked 5 times while also showing a penchant for holding the ball too long on his dropbacks. This is one of the knocks against him coming out of college. On a positive note, Sanders didn't turn the ball over in either game. Meanwhile, in his preseason appearances, Gabriel had a better completion percentage than Sanders and also took fewer sacks. Gabriel also threw a touchdown pass. However, he did turn the ball over twice, with 1 interception and 1 fumble. Heading into the regular season, Gabriel remained the number 2 quarterback behind Flacco. This meant that Sanders was relegated to number 3 emergency quarterback status, meaning that he would dress, but he couldn't play except in case of emergency. So far, Gabriel has seen action in mop-up duty twice. Overall, he's gone 3 of 4 for 19 yards, as well as throwing his first career touchdown pass. To this point, unlike all the other quarterbacks, including the departed Pickett, Sanders hasn't taken any first-team reps, nor has he played in a regular season game. Despite that, Sanders has done and said all the right things regarding his current status in the pecking order. He's even said that he was quote-unquote thankful about being the number 3 quarterback. Recently, though, some of his comments and actions have drawn notice. On September 25th, Sanders told ESPN Cleveland that, quote, "If you see the quarterback play in the league right now, I know I'm capable of doing better than that," unquote. He also went on to say that he's, quote, "ready to play right now," unquote. On October the 1st, when facing reporters and being asked questions, Sanders chose to mouth his answers rather than audibly answering them. While his comments on September the 25th spoke to his level of confidence in himself, his behavior on October the 1st was just plain weird. It'll be interesting to see what he says his reasons were for doing this. Now let's take a look at what young Dillon will be facing in his first NFL start. He's lining up against the Minnesota Vikings, who in Brian Flores have one of the best defensive coordinators in the NFL. His defensive schemes generally involve bringing as much pressure on the quarterback as possible by calling for numerous blitzes. You can bet he's currently thinking of ways to confuse Gabriel with some exotic defensive alignments. From the Browns side of the ball, they recently lost starting offensive tackle DeJuan Jones for the season with a right knee LCL tear and hamstring avulsion. Their other starting tackle, Jack Conklin, has been out since week 1 with an elbow injury. Meanwhile, the Browns recently traded for tackle Cam Robinson to try and strengthen their offensive line. This puts Gabriel in a difficult position, operating behind a shaky line while going against a team that you know will be blitzing him as much as possible. It's not unlike a situation that the Vikings themselves recently faced in Week 2 versus the Atlanta Falcons. In that nationally televised game, quarterback J.J. McCarthy, who was starting on the second game of his career, was operating behind an offensive line that had lost starters prior to and during that game. As a result, the Falcons were relentless with their pass rush, registering 6 sacks while also forcing McCarthy to throw 2 interceptions. The Vikings lost that game 22-6. I predict something like that happening to Gabriel on Sunday. Furthermore, unless the Browns go back to Flacco as the starter, Gabriel can expect a similar experience against the Pittsburgh Steelers the following week. By then, the Browns won't have any other option, at least not one that they want to take, than to allow Shedeur Sanders a chance to start in Week 7 against the Miami Dolphins, which is exactly what I expected and predicted all along. Thank you all for checking out our video. We appreciate you spending time with us. We have other videos that need love too, and they're actually good, if I may say so myself, so go check those out as well. Thanks again and see you soon.